Hey, what's up guys? It's Foster and we're back working on our 2022 WRX doing an install video today. As you can see, I've got the new Fortune Auto Gen 8 500 series coilover and I'm going to be installing a set of these on our VB WRX. And for those of you who just got this car and maybe you haven't done any modifications to it yet, or maybe you're new to working on cars and you don't know exactly how to do an installation like this, I'm going to show you exactly what goes into installing a new set of coilovers. Before I put these coilovers in the car, let's go over a couple of the new features for the Gen 8 of the 500 series coilover lineup. One of the things that Fortune Auto changed out for this new gen is the digressive piston inside the coilover itself. It's made out of a billet aluminum to be extremely lightweight, and that allows it to have more damper sensitivity. This is something you typically see in a high-level motorsports application, but what's cool is Fortune Auto is making some of these motorsports technologies available in a more affordable package like this 500 series lineup. Another motorsports feature you're going to find on this 500 series coilover lineup are these spherical bearings, and that's going to give you a much more direct handling feel than if you had a rubber bushing or bearing, so that's going to take a lot of slop out of your coilovers, which is really nice. Another feature I like about these new coilovers are these laser engraved top hats that come with built-in camber plates as well, and that's going to give you a lot more adjustment to get that alignment dialed in after you lower your car. So these come with 8K springs. These are Swift springs, and they're gonna be 8K front and rear. And that's actually gonna be a perfect balance between comfort and performance. So if you wanna daily drive your car, but also go to the occasional track day or autocross, these 8K springs are gonna be the way to go. In addition, you get 24 clicks of damping adjustment. This is gonna be damping and rebound, since these are one-way adjustable coilovers, which honestly, this is gonna be the best setup for most people. It gives them a lot less to have to worry about. And they do come with the damping already set to 6 clicks from soft, so you don't have to worry about that. Speaking of things that they've already thought of, they also have already set the preload on these 500 series coilovers, so you don't have to worry about that either. It comes with a little green tag telling you that preload's already been set, so one less thing to have to worry about for your install. And then finally, they've got these locking collars too, which is really nice, so that your ride height and your preload is not gonna change on you after you set it and install it in the car. All right, I'm gonna start by breaking the lug nuts loose, and that's gonna make it a hell of a lot easier to get the wheels off once the car's up in the air. I've also got this special tool here since we have locking lug nuts, and this is gonna allow you to get that special locking lug nut off the wheels as well. All right, I got all the lug nuts broke loose on the WRX, so now it's time to jack it up in the air. And if you guys have never done a project like this and you don't know where your jack points are, Kevin actually made a video a little while back showing you all the details. I'll put a link in the upper corner where you can go check it out. Luckily for me, we've got a lift, so it's gonna be a pretty easy step. So as you guys can see, we've got a set of Faction Fab coilovers on our VB WRX. These are actually a pre-production set of coilovers, so I had them on the car to take some measurements and relay that information back to Faction Fab. But now it's time to install a proper production set of coilovers, which is why we're gonna be installing the Fortune Autos. This pink line here is an ABS sensor, so use a flathead screwdriver to disconnect it from the strut. There's 4 little plastic tabs in the back you have to push, and then it should release from the strut just like that. Next, there's a small 12mm bolt that holds on the brake line to the strut. You can go ahead and disconnect that as well. Now it's time to disconnect the end link. As you can see, there is a nut behind the strut that we have to take off. You can use a pass-through wrench with an Allen key, or you can hit it with an impact. So I'm gonna try the impact first, and we're gonna see if we can get this loose. Pro tip, before you remove these 2 bolts that attach the knuckle to the strut, use a Sharpie or a pen to make a little mark on this upper bolt here, and that's gonna help you get your camber close to spec when you install your new coilovers. Now we can use a 19mm socket and a wrench to remove these two bolts. All right, we got the knuckle detached from the strut. Now you can pull your end link out of the strut as well, and we're ready to pop the hood and remove the nuts that are holding the strut in place. Underneath the hood, there's 3 14mm nuts that you need to loosen, and then at that point, your strut or your coilover that you're uninstalling will be free to go. Before you take your last 14mm nut off, make sure you have a hand on the coilover so that it doesn't drop down and get damaged. Just like that, we got our front suspension removed. To remove the rear suspension, you have to remove all this hardware that is connecting the strut to this lower control arm. So this is a 17mm nut, this is a 14mm nut, and this is also a 17mm nut. The last thing we got to do to remove the rear struts is remove these 2 14mm nuts that are located in the trunk. You might have to peel back your trunk liner and some of the carpeting in order to access these, but there's just a couple pop clips holding that stuff in, so it's really not too bad to remove. Before you remove both 14mm nuts, make sure you have a friend grab your suspension, that way it doesn't drop on the ground. So we got the old suspension off the WRX, and a couple things I want to quickly go over. If you guys are taking your stock suspension off your car, I'd highly recommend you keep a hold of it. That way down the road, if you want to upgrade your Fortune Auto coilovers to be 2-way or even 3-way adjustable, you have some suspension for your car while you get them rebuilt. Another thing about the Fortune Autos is they come with these adjustable end links. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the prototype end links we have on our WRX with these nice adjustable ones that are included in your kit. And of course, it also comes with the spanners and the Allen keys and everything you need to adjust your coilovers. So as I mentioned earlier, the preload's already set on these coilovers, so all I got to do now is set my ride height and we should be good to go. To set the ride height on these Fortune Autos, I'm going to use our previous set of coilovers as a reference, since we already had the ride height pretty dialed in exactly where I like it. So I'm going to loosely match the height of this Fortune Auto to the Faction Fab, and then once we figure out what that exact height is, I'll take some measurements with my digital caliper and we can set the other sides accordingly. Okay, we got the locking collar all set. Now I'm going to use my digital caliper and we're going to take some measurements and figure out what exactly the ride height is, and then we can repeat this on the passenger side. As I mentioned before, these Fortune Auto coilovers come with new end links, so I'm going to remove the ones that are on the car currently using a 19mm pass-through socket and an Allen key. And now we can install our Fortune Auto end link. Make sure you use the provided washer and locking nut. And then once you got it all nice and snug, you can torque it down to 33 foot-pounds. Now we can finally start the install of our new Fortune Auto coilovers. Now we can reinstall the hub to the coilover. The torque spec for these bolts is 114 foot-pounds. Attach your upper end link mounting point, and again, this torque spec for this is going to be 34 foot-pounds. Using a 12mm socket, tighten down the bracket that attaches your brake line to the strut. Next, we can clip the ABS line back into place. If you can't find a friend to help you out with the rear suspension, you can actually reach around the back door and get the nuts started that way. Hopping under the car, I'm gonna get the lower control arm back in position, and you may have to use a jack or a hoist in order to get all the holes to line up properly for your hardware. Same thing for the lower control arm mounting point to the subframe. You might have to wiggle the arm around a bit in order to get the holes to line up, and then you can hand tighten the hardware. So everything's pretty much buttoned up on the rear suspension of the WRX. I'll quickly go over the torque specs so you guys know exactly how tight to get these bolts. The one that connects the strut to the lower control arm is 59 foot-pounds. The end link is 28 foot-pounds. And then the lower control arm to the subframe is also 59 foot-pounds. Well, there you have it. We've got the new Fortune Auto 500 series coilovers installed on our WRX, and I'm really excited to get these things out on the street and see how they feel. But I can already tell that these are going to be a huge upgrade for the car and give us way better handling, so I'm really excited about that. If you guys want to pick up a set of these coilovers, I will put a link in the description down below to the SubiSpeed website where you can pick up a set of these for your new WRX. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video.